There's been a massive push for diversification, for technology, for startups. If we look at the golden visas, hundreds of thousands have been issued to entrepreneurs, to business owners from all over the world.
My startup colleagues in Berlin were looking at me like an alien.
Where are the unicorns?
How long does it take to build a unicorn? Only 1.5% of the startups in Saudi are mid to high tech.
Real entrepreneurs get stopped.
This is very systematically done here as well. There is a chance that you lose all your money. Come to Dubai, Habibi. The sheer alignment of vision, capital and speed.
An opportunity for outsiders to come in.
Opinion on this one, you invest into the founders. The camel is real.
Welcome to the Reframe Lab, where conversations shape perspectives. Our aim is to uncover critical and hidden aspects related to technologies shaping our businesses and the environments in today's digital landscape.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Goran, for joining us today. So we're here in Dubai, in the heart of the Middle East, many will say, and we can see around us how it's transformed. There's been a massive push for diversification, for technology, for startups. If we look at the golden visas, hundreds of thousands have been issued to entrepreneurs, to business owners from all over the world. If we look at Brits, 22,000 of them arrived last year. They left Britain for the hope of a new future. And they have a dream. They all have a dream. They dream for prosperity. They dream for funding, investment. They are looking for contracts. But there is also an ethical side to this as well. Many entrepreneurs have limited investment. Many entrepreneurs, many CEOs of SMEs have limited funding, but they believe coming here, their businesses, their startups will grow. And the reality maybe is not the case. We know that well over 50% of startups fail. We know that over 30% of Series A companies, startups in the Series A stage collapse. And so listeners want to hear from you. They want to know the reality. Should they move? Is there a dream, or is it just fantasy?
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Goran. I'm one of the two managing directors of Silicon Foundry here in the Middle East. About 27 years of international business experience. 1/3 of it I spent in corporate, 1/3 I spent in strategy consulting, and the last third I identify myself as entrepreneur. And out of the last 10 years, I've spent my time here in the Middle East helping corporate and government organizations to build ventures. And there's a reason why I came here. And one of the reasons is because I saw the potential back 6 years ago, how this region is setting the foundation for new growth. Coming to your question, I would say everybody should come here and try their luck, but it's not so easy as well. We should not forget that this region has developed very fast, but this region is attracting a lot of people here. So whenever you decide to come here and grow your business, launch your business, bring your business here, you should do a pretty good due diligence on what is really needed, what kind of business, what kind of service, what kind of know-how you provide, and what value you can add to this region.
Goran, just building up on that, stats confirm that Middle East is topping the rankings, especially the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor rankings. Total entrepreneurial activity in this part of the world is the highest than anywhere else. So do you believe this is a fertile ground from your experience?
Absolutely. And I said this was the reason why I came here. I came from a very vibrant startup ecosystem. I moved from Berlin to the Middle East. And Berlin is a fantastic European startup ecosystem, very hyped. And when I started in the beginning flying back and forth, my startup colleagues in Berlin were looking at me like an alien when I said to them, I'm going to the Middle East, I'm flying to Riyadh, I'm flying to Dubai to build startups. And funny enough, the same people who looked at me back then as an alien are now coming to the conferences, are now raising capital, are now setting up business here as well.
Where are they raising the capital?
In different companies. It depends on the different stages. Coming to your point, it's not easy anywhere and nowhere in the world. It's really easy to raise capital.
But is it real?
Of course.
Where is the data? Because the data shows, although the data is restricted, and that's also another kind of weak point where we can't see the data. We can't really see the data that is needed to really make that decision. But we need to. I think it's.
I think just picking up, if we don't have even access to data, at least we know where are the unicorns.
Yeah.
Why they are not there.
I think there is now a maximum of 15 unicorns.
But to be fair, let's put this into context. How long does it take to build a unicorn? We are sitting now here around Burj Khalifa, where this area was empty desert 20, 30 years ago. And look around you now, what we have built here and what the leadership has built here. And how long does it take in the US, in Europe, to build unicorns? People underestimate that this is taking decades as well. You need to set the foundation. And the interesting thing is the leadership here in the region has identified innovation as the next oil.
Can you give us some statistics here? Because we do hear a lot about how fantastic the ecosystem is. We do hear the numbers, the billions being poured into to technology, but for SMEs and entrepreneurs, for innovators with brilliant ideas at the stage of pre-seed, seed, coming here is a major step for them. And it could also be their decline because they only have limited amount of funds.
Yep.
They don't have time, years and years to spend to grow. And so do you have any data that may indicate or support what you're saying?
As said, like you really have to be careful on comparing what you want to compare. SMEs, if you're looking at SMEs, normal, let's say service businesses or certain products and things like that, it's definitely more difficult because the competition here is quite hard in this one. Just to give you one example, you just mentioned the entrepreneurial spirit index. It is super high in Saudi and here in the region as well. And I feel this, and this is what excites me as well. Everybody wants to build, especially in Saudi, but also in Dubai. Everybody wants to build, but only 1.5% of the startups in Saudi are mid to high tech as well.
Only
1.5%.
True.
So that means you see the remaining startups which are built are typically in the service and product business. So if you come now from Europe with a normal service business here, it will be hard to compete. On the other hand side, if you're a founder in the mid to high tech and you have capabilities which are desperately needed here in the region, such as anything with AI, quantum computing, cloud computing, robotics, space tech, all this high tech, mid tech industries, this is a perfect ground to be here.
So who funds them? Are these government funds?
These are government funds. I mean, these are government funds as well. If you look, there's a recent statistic I just read a week ago from a German newspaper that of the global investment in mid to high tech, into mid and high tech, the global investment was 210 billion until end of September. 1/3 of it, so a little bit more than 70 billion, was coming from Saudi, UAE, and Qatar.
But then, Goran, doesn't it mean...
Sorry, Dr. Imran, if I may, this is done for a reason, because they bet on these kind of industry, and they don't bet on this industry necessarily only to invest into the world. This is a strategic investment into know-how, into knowledge, because they want to have this know-how and knowledge as well here in this industry, in this region, because now they are setting up the systems in order to build the next generation of unicorns. And yes, I'm with you. Have we seen many unicorns? We have seen some unicorns here. But if you look back to Berlin in Europe, how many unicorns have we seen in Berlin 10 years ago? What has happened is once the first generation of unicorn start to become part of the ecosystem, start to become angel investors, bridging the early gap of investment, which is needed, which was not there back then. I tried to launch for B2B marketplace back in 2013. You would not imagine how difficult it was back then in Berlin to launch for this one. Now it's easier because we have the second, third, fourth generation of founders who had successful exits, who are now founding and bridging the gap of early investment. And I see the same happening here in the region as well. But it's going to take time.
But Goran, if these sovereign wealth funds, which you rightly mentioned, are the funding sources for it, aren't they more inclined towards companies like Nvidia and Amazon and Microsoft?
Yeah.
And it's kind of the cyclic effect going on that you just recycle the money and the real entrepreneurs get starved.
No, of course the money is going in these large companies, but these companies are attracting the next level of companies as well.
So hold
people
on.
out of these companies are founding smaller companies. People are doing spin-offs and things like that. So it's a tripling down effect as well, which we see here in the region as well. And just to add one point, this is very systematically done here as well with some of the innovation hubs which are being built. Yes, they bring in the corporate know-how as well, but they attract startups, they attract investors in building ecosystems very, very strategically. Let me just give you one example. Absolutely. And I can proudly say that I was part of this journey for a couple of years right now, is the DFC Innovation Hub. The DFC Innovation, or DFC, is one of the leading free zones here in Dubai, focused on financial service. The leadership of the DFC recognized that the competition of being a free zone being real estate and license, is quite intense. There are more than 68 free zones in UAE overall. In order to differentiate, they bet heavily on innovation and launched the DFC Innovation Hub. And this DFC Innovation Hub was very successfully attracting corporates, players like Nvidia, Google, startups, investors, family offices, who became all of a sudden the pumping heart of the DFC with the innovation. And they have this done so successfully that the same blueprint which we did for the DFC Innovation Hub is now applied for the Dubai AI campus. Now DFC has launched the Dubai PropTech campus. They're going to launch it for some others. It's very strategically where you combine corporates, investors, startups to bring together in order to build ecosystems. Sorry.
That's really interesting. And in terms of this is probably kind of the triple helix effect in terms of building infrastructure and their future towards a more diverse economy. And that's fine. But if we can home in to opportunities for these startups, for British entrepreneurs or European entrepreneurs that are real innovators and SMEs from all over the world, if you can give us some examples where of these companies have been able to access funds, they've been able to close around here in the GCC.
It's hard to pick examples on this one, but let me go back to the stats what I just mentioned. The highest entrepreneurial index and the 1.5% Saudi driven mid to high tech startups. That gap is pure gold. If you're an entrepreneur, if you are young, I consider myself still young. if you are eager to build something, to venture something, this gap, what I just mentioned, is pure gold.
But what is
this
the pathway?
Is an opportunity.
Where do you sit
That's
down?
the opportunity.
But what is the pathway?
First pathway, do your due diligence. Which of the countries is the best country for your capability?
The taxation and all the
It's
policies.
not only about taxation. Taxation is same. We know the taxation is very favorable. But where do you get best support? And it's not even like UAE, even in the UAE where I said like the different free zones, what to choose, where to go and things like that. Second thing is, where is the best support for my specific know-how as well? And then once you have chosen this one, come here. there's nothing. So many companies do the mistake is like, I stay in Europe and I fly in every 2 weeks and come here, and then I have meetings and then I fly out. No, double in. I moved with my family 3 years ago because I was sick and tired of flying in, and I saw.
And what was the
it's
difference? What did you see when you moved here in comparison to flying over?
the weather is much better.
What about the opportunities open
The
up?
opportunities
or
are
what?
there because you're becoming part of the ecosystem. You're becoming part of the life as well. This is something
Yeah, you're showing your commitment.
You show your commitment, and this is also something. This region is tired of us Westerners coming here and just like
Money
being
back.
and taking the tax benefit
Yes.
and thinking, wow, we can do big money here. No, they want us to invest, to integrate.
This is where I really understand. I truly understand that, and it has been a long journey where it's been a lot of take, and now they want something back. That's understandable. But as coming back to, there is an ethical implication to this. And because I do work and I speak to entrepreneurs and SMEs in the UK, and the UK in terms of its economy isn't as stable. It's not growing as much. There are issues. And entrepreneurs, innovators, real thinkers and owners of companies that are doing really well, they're looking for a way out. And it's fair. Is it really fair? There is a lot of hype here in Dubai, and you hear, come to Dubai, you're going to make it here. This is the dream. This is your dream. But when they do come, is the reality? And I asked you at the start of this interview, is the reality, is there a chance that they're going to lose their money?
The same chances of losing your
money. But they're already established here. There is a big difference between moving. You have to pay for your children's education.
Yes. And
you have to pay your home, healthcare, everything. Nothing is free here. Mm-hmm. So there is an angle of that. It's not as easy. So when they do come, they need to be, and they are listening. People are listening to you. Is there a chance that they actually could lose their money?
Absolutely. With all honesty, brutally honest, me being German honest on this one.
That's what we want. That's what our listeners want.
There is a chance that you lose all your money.
Yeah.
But you know what? The same chance will be in London, in Berlin, in Paris, and you name it.
So how do you reduce the chance?
That's the essence of being an entrepreneur. Yeah. When I started my entrepreneurial journey, and this was in Berlin, I completely went fully in.
But it's a calculated risk. The entrepreneurs,
it's not a calculated bet. It's not a bet, but it's also not calculated risk. You named this. How many startups are failing?
Yeah.
True.
How many startups are really raising Series A? And this is globally a challenge. But what I see here is the opportunities. We in Europe are optimizing oftentimes on efficiency.
Yes.
The Gulf is optimizing on potential and opportunities.
That's very strong.
And this is something which very much attracts me as an entrepreneur, because I see the opportunities. I know the risk, and I know the challenges. You mentioned some of the challenges, and let's be clear, not everything is easy. Schooling, housing, and things like that. Every of these ecosystems which are being built have their challenges. This is why certain European cities are attracting more startups as well. Lisbon being cheap, Berlin being cheap for bootstrapping. Bootstrapping here, your startup, it's quite difficult, especially if you have kids as well, and lifestyle and things like that. But maybe then Dubai is not the right one. Maybe Sharjah and Ras Al Khaimah are maybe the better Emirates for you, where you can live cheaper and still do a lot of great businesses as well. So Abu Dhabi has developed into this field. So I'm not saying it's like, I'm not the one saying, come to Dubai, Habibi, everything is nice. And no, it's we don't pay taxes, but we really have to work hard.
Yeah.
But we work hard for a dream.
Yeah.
We work hard for the opportunities which we have here. And sorry to say to my fellow Europeans, I did not see these opportunities for me and my family anymore in Europe.
Wow, that's a
I
big,
did
that
not
is a
see
big
this.
statement.
I did not see these opportunities for me and my family, even in any other part of the world. I chose this region as the opportunity.
I hope the European government and the British government is listening to you, because
So
if you're saying that, so many people are saying it.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, it is like this. And this is what I'm telling you. Look, we have our challenges here as well. And you mentioned some of them. Housing is one of them. Riyadh, every week, new projects popping up and things like that. But Riyadh is having difficulties to pick up the sheer infrastructure. Riyadh is built housing-wise for Arabic families with 5, 6, 10 people. But try to find a flat share apartment in Riyadh where 6 startup guys hang out together. New opportunities arise, new co-living spaces arise and things like that. Traffic is a nightmare and all these kind of things. Also, Dubai has fantastic infrastructure, but it needs to stay affordable as well. It needs to stay affordable because ecosystems are built on accessibility as well, and not only on premium. So these are all challenges which are being addressed. And that's the nice one. Whenever I talk to some of the ministries, government leaders, corporate leaders, they are aware of this one. And the nice thing is, what fascinates me here in this region is the sheer alignment of vision, capital, and speed.
Goran, just capturing this and summarizing it, we do know that entrepreneurship is thriving. As you summarize it, you agree to it. There are more entrepreneurial activity here in this part of the region than anywhere else. But don't we think that less might mean more as compared to the Western entrepreneurial ecosystem, where you have more prominent and opportunistic entrepreneurship, which is contributing to the economy much better than the entrepreneurship that we have here? So are the entrepreneurs in this part of the world, maybe they are more in number, but they're struggling with really putting the bread on the table, struggling to scale up? Do you think that this is how it is? It's only the numbers, we have more, but the real true scale-ups are really limited?
I tend to disagree, Dr. Imran, because I don't know the statistic if the sheer number is really higher here. And I agree with you that the number of scale-ups is still lower.
In Saudi, it's 1.35 million SMEs.
Absolutely.
And 3,000 scale-ups out of it. So I don't think it's even 1%.
No,
but as I said, like in Saudi, it's the entrepreneurial spirit very much focused into the service and product business and not to the interesting high and mid-tech markets. But coming back to this point is like, don't compare the number of scale-ups right now. This is not fair.
Yeah, comparison is not fair. That's
the time comparison, which I just told you, and I said, like, Berlin 15 years ago was a complete different ecosystem than it's today. And we are here still like in a very nascent in the whole context
that's probably,
of startup, how long it takes.
That's a brilliant, this is music to my ears if as an entrepreneur, and as many outside entrepreneurs from the outside. So we are not saturated. The ecosystem is not saturated. And in that way, you may translate that as an opportunity for outsiders to come in. But it's not just about, as you said, it's not just about the numbers. Let's get to the details in terms of investment, in terms of the type of investment. Do you know the information? Do you know the data? How Dubai, how the UAE, how the Saudis invest in startups? You know, how much capital do they invest, and what equity are they looking for?
And are the local entrepreneurs given preference to the expat entrepreneurs? Is there Saudization and Emiratization in startups as well?
That's what's going to really matter.
That's a second point I would like to come back in a second. Let me come to the first point. So I'm with you. The investment market is still also
Maturing.
very
Nascent.
maturing. You have increasing number of VCs, local VCs as well, who are bridging this gap. Do we have as many as in Europe? Not yet, but we have some very good ones. My friend Yusuf from Joa Capital in Saudi is doing a fantastic job.
What is he doing?
They're exactly investing in these kind of companies which we are talking about in Saudi, bridging the gap. But what is also happening is what I just said, like the second generation of founders who had successful first exits, or they are starting to invest as well. Oftentimes here in the region, you have still the families supporting entrepreneurs as well. Yeah.
So this is the big thing. Family entrepreneurship here is a huge thing.
Yes.
And we know that the bedrock of entrepreneurial ecosystem of Middle East is family entrepreneurship. So is it that these investors are playing safe and investing in family businesses? Or is it like the true disruptive businesses?
I mean, this is also something, as I said, as we are in a nascent market, it's still about education. I also had in the early years, and we still have it, talking to investors. Everybody is talking about angel investment. You talk with angel investors, and I back then in Germany, talking about my example, when I had my first startup back in 2012, 2013 in Berlin, I had angel investors who were also very proud of buying very cheap a lot of equity. Which today the market understood that this is, excuse my French, but this is stupid. Because you buy equity cheap in the beginning, but most probably the startup will have difficulties in raising Series A, Series B. And the same happens here as well.
Happens here now?
Yes, happens now, but it's changing slowly. But it happened now. Also, a lot of investors you see hear about investing and things like that, but they come from, let's say, very traditional business. Dubai, obviously a lot of real estate where return on invest is something seen with flips in 12, sometimes 36 months, sometimes 5 years and things like that. So they want to have a faster return on invest. But you need to start educating them and say, like, no, in a startup, we're thinking about maybe 8, 10, 12 years until a liquidation event might happen. So there's a lot of education coming, but with people having the first successes, having first successful exits and things like that, this is something which will enable this market. And I said, like, this is the opportunity I see. I'm not sitting here in the valley where you have a very competitive environment as well. I'm oftentimes here in this ecosystems, I'm 3-4 connections away from very influential corporates or governments.
So Goran, just changing the lens from the entrepreneurship to the entrepreneurs. When it comes to investment, you have painted the picture really well, that the environment is looking nice, but whom do you invest on? Do you invest on the idea, or do you invest on the founders? What is the most important thing for you?
My personal opinion on this one, you invest into the founders.
But then we know that the way government is progressing in the region, especially for Saudi, I personally see hardly any person remains in the job for more than a year. A year comes and they switch. So the kind of mentality, especially in the youth population within Saudi, is they switch off very quickly, they move very fast. Then entrepreneurship is a long play. Do you feel some resistance in that? Do they hold themselves?
I see a different generation growing up. And I'm with you. This was the case 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and you see the majority still acting like this, seeking government, safe jobs. Saudi, by the way, opposite than in Europe, where the government is the highest paying employer.
True.
Yeah,
private sector can't afford it.
Which they have started turning because they saw like it's causing problems there as well. But coming to my point, I see a new generation who's thinking differently. A new generation of Saudis, especially, coming from very influential, very rich families as well, but going the entrepreneurial path and sticking to it. In other Emiratis,
They can afford to do that, though. They can afford to do that.
No. It's not about affordability. It's because of the passion. And that's something what I've seen changing. The first time when I did business back then in my corporate job, this was like 12, 13 years ago in Saudi. I see a different Saudi. I see a different mentality. These are people who come from good family, but are driven by passion. They're driven. I see the same shining in their eyes as entrepreneurs about their vision, about their passion. It's not about can they afford it, can they not afford it, or something like that. They want to succeed. They want to prove it.
They want to prove it. It's coming from the grassroots.
It's theirs.
Yeah.
It's theirs.
Yeah.
They're coming from families who make billions in importing rice. Yeah. But they're still fighting to be the first one in the family to build a digital venture.
A digital venture.
Which is a completely different business. You can't imagine how much effort it takes to convince your family tribe, which is making billions, that you are the one who's now starting a digital ventures, which might take 8-10 years until maybe not even succeeding or whatever. But this is passion. You do this out of passion, and you don't lay back and say like, I'm already from a rich family, I'm not going to do this.
So just on that, I was reading today the CEO of Dubai AI Foundation, his reflections on GITEX. GITEX is concluding today, and he said, I have seen a lot of AI startups and there's a lot of potential, but majority that I have seen is wrappers. They are the AI wrappers, and wrappers has an expiry date. They are there today. He gave the example of a chatbot chatting with your PDF, kind of a chat GPT with the PDF document. It doesn't exist anymore now. So he's saying that it's really about the value that you're creating, which is going to last long, and you have to in-depth have an inquiry on what's the problem you're trying to solve. Do you find that depth especially in the Saudi ecosystem, or is it just an innovation theater? Where people are just inspired because all of a sudden they are topping the ranks with all total entrepreneurial activity, and it's just a theater that they're putting together rather than real, true, in-depth entrepreneurship, solving real challenges.
Commercializing.
Yeah.
I totally get what you're saying. And I said, like, we're talking about the Gulf region, and we're talking about a lot of different countries and a lot of different stages as well. And I'm not going to tell which one is now ahead and which one is more innovation theater than the others and things like that. But I see a shift. And what you're saying, yes, it's a lot of innovation theaters, and where innovation becomes the next Birkin bag or whatever. So I've seen this here in the region as well, as I've seen it anywhere else in the world.
True.
In the world. But what I'm saying is, like, I have friends in Saudi, but also here in the UAE, who are entrepreneurs by heart. And this is what gives me hope. And this is what gives me...
that one thing that you see in the founder? You say that you invest in the founder. If you are making an investment, what is that one thing you would see in the investor? In the founder.
It's always easy to say, but it's the passion, it's the drive. Is it really? Is he gonna stick through the difficult times, or is he gonna give up? Is he gonna go back to his government job or corporate job?
Does the founder have to be irreplaceable, Goran?
In the early years, the founder is the most important one. What we should not forget, and you see this at some scale-ups in Europe as well,
they remove the founders after
remove, or they're stepping down and things like that, because again, it's like what I learned in my last 27 years in business, and now more than 10 years in this startup ecosystem, is like, you should distinguish between people who are really good in building something from a white piece of paper and building something up out of chaos. And then there's which by the way is more my piece of cake, what I really like. and then you have people who are very good and
Building it up, taking it further.
Managing.
no, even scaling, managing it, making it more professional.
You're so spot on with it, because there is research which confirms that founders would find a ceiling, a
Yeah.
glass
Of
ceiling,
course.
after a certain period of time.
Mm.
And the example is Satya Nadella. When he has taken over Microsoft, he has multiplied it by 10 times
Yeah.
compared to Bill Gates.
Yeah.
So founders would always, there would come a point where they can't take the organization any further, and they have to step back.
By the way, a side topic, I figured this out first time when I realized it's the same for developers as well. Many companies always say like, yeah, I want to hire my developers, I need to have the developers, but it's the same. There are developers who are really good in building something from scratch, and there are people who make it better.
Maintaining it. And
So
making it
and
better.
that's a reality we need to face. But still, we also know that most startups fail in this difficult launch up to scale phase. And this is the critical phase where you need to have the brain, the heart behind it in order to go through difficult times.
Yeah, but is it just the brain? I mean, I have a lot of experience, and I'm going through this, and I've also spoken to a number of entrepreneurs and British businesses. It's not just about the team. It's not just about the team. It's very much also about the funding. If you do not have the funding, you can't go to the next stage. You just can't. And that is crucial for success. If you remove funding, how you go, especially when you want to build tech, if we're looking at, so I mean, in the area of renewable energy, it's not going to work if you don't have funding, because you can't build this massive 1 megawatt demonstrator that you need to pilot, for example.
Malak, it's not only about funding. It's not about only brain. My first startup failed after 3.5 years miserably. And if you ask me why, we need to do a series of podcasts about it, because
I'm sure.
because there's not one
There's not
reason.
one
There's
reason.
not one
Yeah.
reason. I can talk night longs about why I failed, we failed, and things like that. So it's always easy to blame the money, the
True.
funding and whatever.
Yeah.
Me as an entrepreneur, I need to find solutions as
Yeah.
well. I'm corporate. I'm now corporate venture builder as well. I tell the corporates, it's like, don't build, prototype, fake it till you make it as much as possible.
Fake it till you make it? What's that? Fake it till you make it.
Corporates, now little step back, as I'm advising corporates to build ventures, corporates typically like to build immediately. They feel very comfortable. They feel in the safe, happy place when they have milestones, build something and things like that. But I'm just telling them that's not how you do it as entrepreneurs. So you don't have the capital like a corporate to throw money at something.
That's correct.
You need to validate the problem solution fit with real customers with a kind of prototype. And if the prototype ends up being a very good presentation or AI generated video or whatever, but as long as you convince the customer to sign a LOI and say like, I want it, that's something what I mean, fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
You don't build completely. If you really need the mega investment to build your prototype in order to prove your product solution fit, then it might not be the right thing.
No, can I just say,
yes.
that's not realistic for renewable energy, in the renewable energy. No, I can argue that it's not realistic, because when you do speak to investors throughout the world, but also including this region, they will want to see TRL 7 before they invest for renewable energy. And this is speaking to organizations like ADNOC and others across the region.
But Malak, I work very closely in the defense entrepreneurship sector. And defense space is very confined. There are regulations. Not every entrepreneur can get into it. Very similar to the situation you are describing. But there are institutions which would allow you to have, that run up until TRL 7. They'll give you the full backing. You would have full infrastructure support, full laboratory testing support, everything. And I know it that it's there in the
In the
region.
defense, so we have the NATO. I don't know if you've heard of a NATO accelerator
Accelerator.
program, which is brilliant. And they've had 5,000 applications in, I think, last year, but only a handful can get in. That is the issue that where
In the region, it's different.
but in this region,
I know firsthand from the Saudi that it's very different in this region.
And that comes back to the point I said before, is like, what is the interesting thing here? If you look, you're asking for a blueprint. Read Saudi's Vision 2030. Read Dubai's D33. Read Vision 2030 of Qatar as well. These are all giving you the blueprint, basically what's needed, what they want to do as well. They all have one thing in common, is that innovation is the key for diversification.
Yes.
Because they all need that their resources, oil, gas, whatever, is a limited thing. So innovation is the key message. But we also all know, and that's again where I see the opportunity, that a vision remains a PowerPoint if you don't have the execution and operational capabilities. So if you are coming back to your European listeners, entrepreneurs, if you believe that you have the operational execution capabilities in order to bridge the gap of this mid and high tech or even other industries, but you think you are the missing link in this one, then come to this region.
So Goran, I want to now unpack what is Goran's school of thought. There are two ways when you go for entrepreneurship, as you're just sharing your thoughts with Malak. One way is that you exploit the market. Whatever given resources you have, you try to play around them and you try to create a blueprint and you do a prototyping, minimum viable product, you hit the market. The other way is more exploratory. You try and find out what are the customer needs, what is it that's going to solve the pain points, and then you reverse engineer to see what are the resources you would need. If an entrepreneur has to come today to the region, what would be your advice? What's your school of thought? What does Goran say on that?
My school of thought, which I'm preaching day in, day out when I talk to my corporate and government clients, is the second way. Is like you look what is the problem, you identify a problem hypothesis, you test it, you try to find a value proposition to solve the problem, which is worth solving as well. So is there a willingness to pay for this one? And then you go for it.
What did you do, Malak? Did you do this way or the other way?
So in terms of our technology, we use both. So when we ran out of funds, we started to collaborate with universities, for example, in Germany, in Berlin, BTU and others. So when we finished funding, there are other ways, and the opportunities and resources are abundant, and we are still moving forward. So both.
But this comes a little bit to the point, at which stage are you? Are you an entrepreneur who has already, let's say, an idea, a problem hypothesis, which you might have tested already in your market, and you want to grow and you want to access a new setup, then the approach might be different. Another point, and coming back to your earlier questions as well, is what I also recommend Western founders who come here is to embrace the culture and also look for a local strong co-founder as well.
That's very true.
That's super crucial, and that's also a little bit where I want to give the European listeners, you're not going to come here and become the unicorn founder and being all in the newspapers. If you come here for your ego, you're not going to succeed. Sorry, you're not going to succeed.
But you need to find, where do you find a local? And this local, if they're still at the nascent stage, like you described, and they're not fully fully kind of educated to the level
Oh,
maybe.
no, you find them if you come here.
But
you
their
find them,
expectations in the
and
shares. So let's talk about the expectations. A realistic scenario that I know many have gone through. So they're entrepreneurs for the part. They've developed their technology for the past few years, but they want to come to the region, and they're looking for a local, and they may look for a Saudi, a Qatari, but the locals are expecting 50%.
No, that's not true.
So first of all, as well, here we need to distinguish. If you have a certain valuation, you have a product solution fit, you have revenues and things like that, there are different setups you can do. You can set up.
So
here,
no revenue.
Okay,
if there's no revenue.
wherever, but you have a proven product solution fit in your market, and you want to extend in the market. There are different ways how you can do it. So first of all, you don't give them equity in your holding company, but you set up the local company and give them even a larger share in the local company, which is part of the holding company and things like that. So there are ways around it. Nevertheless, I'm also speaking about the fact when you want to build something from scratch here and you really jump into this market here. So I see a lot of opportunities for companies which are Saudi driven and Western infused. I give you one example. My friends from Rimthan, a Saudi venture builder. I used to work with my brothers in my previous company, and they have decided to build their own corporate venture builder. It's a Saudi venture builder. It's a Saudi venture builder headed by two Saudis, but infused by Western venture builders on management level, on important levels.
It's a true partnership.
That's a true partnership.
Yeah.
That's a true partnership.
And that's where it succeeds.
But still, the two Saudi founders, Asim and Bassam, they call the shots, which is fine because they open the doors. They know the ecosystem, but they also value very highly the opinion, the input, the knowledge and everything.
What do you mean by they call the shots?
At the end, there's always one in a startup, the CEO, who calls the shots. And I'm telling you, I'm very fine of being the COO or CSO or whatever of a company, and a Saudi being the CEO if he opens the right doors, gives the right strategic direction, how to succeed in this market. And that's something where I'm saying is like, this is something when you come to the region, you should get familiar with this thought.
This is a bold statement you have made.
Yes.
And you are comfortable, Goran, because you have that substance. When you have that substance in you, when you know that you have all the buckets are full, then you're not really looking to fill any bucket. Then what you're really looking for is achieving an aim. And for that, you can take any direction. You may go ahead and be very comfortable making a Saudi CEO. I think that's a very critical point that you have mentioned, especially for the audience, especially for the entrepreneurs who are very agitated when they are discussing the share percentages and how much they are willing to give up.
Entrepreneurs, I mean, in academia, there's research that shows that they view their company as their baby in some cases. And so what you have said is, I don't think it will sit very well with many entrepreneurs in the UK and potentially
it's the mindset.
It's the mindset, but actually it's about fairness as well. Why should a local lead? Do they have to lead?
Again, let's distinguish between one company which you have and bring to the region. I'm not saying this. I'm saying if you build something from scratch here, you find your co-founder, you co-create something. And this is something where I would always recommend, if you co-create something, give the local the lead. So
why not give the local a commercial director, not the CEO? So these are the questions. These are the I know these are the arguments. Well, that's going to happen. So titles, although titles, when you do have funding and you move forward and you grow, it doesn't matter anymore. But at the beginning, I think it's.
I'll share a practical example from our setup. If we go ahead and bring our organization as the main company, as an international entity, let's say in Saudi, systems would be completely different.
Mhm.
We would be treated as an international organization,
Mhm.
and we may be ignored for many critical government projects.
You'll be ignored.
We would be ignored because we won't classify certain criterias where they would only have a local company. There can be sensitive defense projects related to it, other those kind of
Intelligence,
critical national infrastructure projects. Whereas being a Saudi company allows you full freedom to act independently. The biggest challenge we have faced on that, we have that set up, is governance.
Mhm.
And that's where everything starts getting too complicated. There are ways around it, but it's much more complicated. If there's a will, there's a way, I say.
Yes.
Let me give you the street answer. And that's a little bit for our European audience now, Arabic word. It's to summarize, it's wasta.
Wasta. Is
Wasta,
Wasta
yeah,
is
yeah.
not maybe connected to corruption though?
No.
No.
Are you
No,
sure?
it's about the connection, it's about the strengths, and it's about also how you appear as well.
Network.
Your network and things like that. And in this ecosystem, this is
It's about who you know.
who you know and
And who knows you?
who knows you as well.
So, what about technologies or companies that are built and are established, partially established in Europe or the UK, and want to come here and also grow maybe right at the end of TRL 8 or 9, and they want to commercialize? How is the relationship? What type of relationship or what type of expectations should
The typical setup I have seen, and that's also my recommended setup, to then build a local company and give the local founder significant share in this local company because he's driving the business. The example you just mentioned right now.
What is the significant, by the way? How significant is the significant?
Significant is this is a negotiation thing which really depends on how advanced your company in terms of valuation. So there's
It's
no
difficult
right
to
and
answer,
wrong.
yeah.
but there must be some kind. So I mean, from my own experience, around 50%, 40-50%. Is that something that you would agree
that's
with?
the right answer for a certain type of, but I've seen cases as well with 20%.
20%. That's very good, actually.
But you would like to again, is like now we're coming a little bit into this very difficult field of incentivation, valuation and kind of thing. And that's another example what I did wrong in my startup as well. I can talk about it. So how do you distribute fair share between co-founders, experience, less experience, and things like that? I've changed my opinion on this completely. If you bring in the same value, no matter if you have 2 years experience or 20 years experience, if the value you bring to the company, you should have a fair share and 50-50 in two founders. But this is an experience I had to learn for myself over the last.
You should
10,
write
15
10
years.
Commandments of Entrepreneurship by Goran, because these are very enlightened principles, Goran.
But it is, and I tell you one thing: if you don't feel that sharing 50-50 with your other co-founder, that it's not a fair deal, then I tell you is not the right co-founder.
So in terms of when it comes to SMEs, so established companies that are already they're revenue generating, significant revenues, but they're within the SME criteria, and they want to come here. They want to close up in Europe or the UK, and they want to expand here. What about that? And they will probably need a local partner. What should they expect from that local partner?
I really have difficulties with the definition of SME because it's so broad.
It's
Are you talking about the
right,
Are you talking about the carpenter who is really
That's excellent response. Absolutely,
who
SMEs
is
are
perfect in his field.
Yeah.
I tell you, he will find a job here as well.
Carpenter, really?
Of course. If you're excellent in what you're doing, I take everything back what I just said. You're gonna find your service niche as well, which is most probably paying you much more. But I have the difficulties of what is SME, how broad it is, and things like that. So this is why I always try to talk very much about digital software, mid high tech one, because if you're an average baker, and UK, no offense, is not famous for baking good bread. If you try to open your business here, you might find a niche here as well, but you might also not succeed. So it is really, really doesn't problem solution fit. It comes back to the point. Is the service you're providing, is the product you're providing, is there a market for it here?
Yeah.
And if you most probably don't close the shop and come the first time to Dubai, come here a couple of times and check out what is the competitive landscape of UK bakeries, how big is the UK community and things like that before you close your job.
By the way, this closing phenomena is induced by Trump's taxes. I have serious entrepreneurs from India, and given the taxes situation between the US and India, they're looking to pack up and be here in Dubai so that they can at least have a fair deal with the American market. So that's another effect that's creating pressure.
It's another complexity which we are all facing right now.
Yeah.
I am very intrigued by your positivity. You're so positive. And you are actually selling, come to Dubai, Habibi. You are doing that. This whole interview is about come to Dubai, Habibi.
Malak, I'm sorry, and I told you.
But this is what. But the listeners need to know the truth.
The truth is, it's hard. The truth is, I came here.
Entrepreneurship is hard.
Entrepreneurship is hard.
But what you're saying is, if you're gonna be successful, if you want to be successful, you can be successful in the UK, in Europe, but you can also be successful here equally.
Yes.
But what did Europe not give you? Because we started off with Europe couldn't give you what you wanted, so you came here. What was it? What is it that you found here that you couldn't find in Europe?
This is a very personal answer right now, and it has two aspects, to be honest. First of all, Europe will be my home. I was born and raised in Germany. I feel European, so I don't want to talk bad about Europe. But we have made difficult and sometimes wrong decision in the last 10, 15 years, which we are paying the price right now. And it's hitting our economies. Some economies are being hit harder and the other, some less hard. I had a fantastic job, well-paid job in Europe and things like that. But on the other hand, I see the difficulties, even you have a very well-paid job, in order to secure a future, let's say, wealth for your family is becoming more and more difficult.
And you find the opportunity here.
Even
though you're never going to be an Emirati, you're never going to have
even that. But I see the opportunity, and I hope I can achieve it more realistic here, although it's hard. It stays hard. Same. But let's say the carrot is, in my opinion, is bigger.
It's bigger.
It's not closer. It's bigger, in my opinion. In my opinion. And second of all, it is about the lifestyle I see here for my family as well. I have 2 young kids, and school is really, really expensive here, and we are bleeding. By the way, the government is trying to change this as well right now, because they see a problem, they change solution driven. But I don't have to worry if my kids in primary school are exposed to drugs, are exposed to violence, are exposed to any other things. I don't need to think about drugs here. I don't need to think about safety and security here. These are kind of things, is like, to all these opportunities, I'm still a father as well, and a husband, and I see the carrot which I chase for my family, but also the life which we can live here, I see just better than what the current state of Europe could offer me. And with all warnings, is like, coming here is nice. We have nice weather, the beach is near. That's all what I enjoy. But if you think it's going to be easy here, no,
It's same tough.
It's same tough. It's same tough. And the competition, you say, it's making even tougher because the influx we have from UK, India, whatever,
But
these are all great talents which are coming here, and the competition is getting higher. But the competition is everywhere.
Is the competition getting higher? But also, do you not see that it's enriching the social capital of entrepreneurs?
Of course.
So now, the knowledge from outside. Innovation is coming,
So of course. So this is like I see competition always as a positive.
I'm going to ask one last question, and it's about coming back to unicorns. We have, I think, around about 15 in the region. It's almost doubled, but I believe that none of them have IPO'd. And is there a reason?
Yeah.
And what is the reason?
The reason is, I think, and that's also something which is being realized, and they're working on it, but that's nothing you change in the world, that the stock market, the IPO market is also very nascent compared to other markets as well. And maybe it's not the IPO, but here you have other exit opportunities as well.
There's a company I know recently did IPO and is facing massive challenges. Growth was really good before IPO. It's the same company, but after IPO, the regulations change. Everything else changes, and instead of being better off, they are slightly worse off.
And I think here the exit opportunities are different. I think the exit opportunities are more towards a sovereign wealth fund or a large corporate or these kind of things. And again, it's like, do we really need to chase the next unicorn, or is it more the camel? And don't take me wrong, the camel is real. And the camel is very sustainable and very durable. And I think we're building now here in the desert the next launchpad, maybe not for unicorns, but for very, very strong camels.
Goran, thank you so much. You have definitely enlightened us. I can honestly say from what from the feedback and the discussions that we've had is to Europe, to the UK, come to Dubai.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for having me. And all the best to all the entrepreneurs who want to join this region. And feel free to reach out to me as well. And let's try.
If someone wants to reach out to you, Goran, what's the channel? How can they reach out?
LinkedIn is the best channel to reach out to me. And please try to bring some context and not take it only as a sales channel, and don't pitch all your ideas to me, because otherwise my inbox gets more flooded. But I regularly check this, and if I see the value of a connection, and I'm typically very open to this one, I'll definitely accept the connection, and I'm looking forward to connecting with many people.
Thank you very much, Goran. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.